Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Lauren Walker, the Manager of Athlete Development here at USA Volleyball. And today we're going to talk about the psychological aspects of injury recovery. An unfortunate but common part of playing volleyball is the risk of being injured. While there are factors that can help reduce your risk of injury, it's still important to mentally prepare yourself for the reality. Being injured is naturally a vulnerable situation. You're not able to physically perform to your full capacity, and that challenges your ability to stay positive and engaged with the team and to feel like yourself. While an injury is an undeniable setback, it is possible to frame it as an opportunity to overcome adversity and to come back stronger. It helps to develop a clear plan for injury recovery that focuses on returning stronger mentally, emotionally, and physically. Let's start by identifying your own thoughts and experiences in dealing with a sport-related injury. Feel free to pause for a few minutes and think about these questions. Have you ever experienced a volleyball or other sport-related injury? If so, how did it impact you physically, mentally, emotionally, or socially? What current strategies do you have in mind to help yourself handle an injury? If these questions were difficult for you to answer, you're not alone. It's all too common for athletes to not plan for an injury or to just attend to the physical side, which can make the recovery process feel unclear and unpredictable. But there are some easy ways to take away this uncertainty. Let's talk about them. It's easy to understand why developing a plan to deal with injuries might be a lower priority for most volleyball players. Why spend time and energy on a negative event that may or may not happen? Well, let's stop and discuss this monster under the bed for a moment. At some point in your athletic career, it is highly likely that you will experience an injury. Aside from the physical discomfort the injury causes, research tells us that any of the following can also happen when you get injured. You can experience mood disturbances like feeling sad, disappointed, frustrated, depressed, or anxious. You can feel uncertainty or fear of the unknown. You can suffer from a dip in self-confidence or motivation. You could feel socially isolated, or you could even feel your identity feel disrupted. And these may make sense. Volleyball is a meaningful part of your life, your social circle, and your goals. However, researchers also cite how powerful these negative emotions can be, and we don't want you to get stuck in these negative emotions. To prevent this, we recommend developing a plan of action before injury happens to disrupt or to shorten the negative reaction. So write down your thoughts to some of the following questions. What does the sport of volleyball mean to you? What goals do you have? What are other activities or relationships outside of the volleyball court that are meaningful to you? I encourage you to list them. What helps you feel confident on and off the volleyball court? Let's talk briefly about why the answers to these questions can protect you from some of those negative mental and emotional outcomes. First, by outlining what volleyball means to you, you're becoming more aware of how impactful being temporarily removed from the sport might feel. And you won't be surprised by the initial disappointment or sadness you feel when you get injured. Being sad or disappointed is a completely valid response. However, reminding yourself of your goals on the court can increase your motivation to adhere to your recovery program and positively reframe those negative feelings. Second, by reminding yourself of the other activities and relationships that add meaning to your life outside of the volleyball court, you ensure that you remain aware of the ways that you can socialize and feel satisfaction and joy in your life as you're undergoing your recovery. Additionally, these social interactions can help you feel more supported on your way back to the court. Finally, by reminding yourself of the things that make you feel confident, you're reassuring yourself that there is much, both inside and outside of the volleyball court, that reaffirms your value as a person. You're more than a volleyball player. You're more than an injury. You bring value in every part of who you are as a friend, a sibling, a coworker, all of those identities. We recommend keeping your responses to these questions in a place you can easily see them. So if you do get injured, you're able to remind yourself of the support around you that you can lean on to get through it. A second key part of creating a plan pre-injury is to have a proactive and honest discussion with your coach and your teammates regarding the approach to handling injuries on your team. Many coaches may be well-intentioned, but not develop specific plans for dealing with injury. So having these conversations with your coach can help shape a meaningful policy for how injury is handled on your team. Here are a few questions that you can use to start the conversation. Who will be involved in supporting yours or a teammate's recovery from injury? A coach, athletic trainer, doctors? And what is the best way to share information across these individuals? And how can you or an injured teammate stay involved with the team during your recovery? What is your new role on the team during your recovery? These questions help you better advocate for yourself and allow you to continue to feel like a valued member of your team should you get injured during the season. The final part of creating a plan for dealing with injury is to consider your own unique disposition and competitive level. We discussed the fact that some common mental and emotional challenges in response to injury can be those mood disturbances, feeling sad, disappointed, frustrated, anxious. You can feel that uncertainty or the fear of the unknown. You can suffer from a dip in self-confidence or motivation. You can feel a lack of clarity in your role in the team. You can feel your identity is disrupted, or you could feel socially isolated. While these can be common responses, it is important to realize that you might react to injury differently than a teammate. So let's reflect on a few factors that might impact how you individually respond to an injury. The first is what researchers call personal factors. These are things like your personality. Are you naturally an optimistic person or a calm person? Your previous injury history, or your role on the team. The second is called situational factors. These are things that are unique to each injury situation, like the severity of the injury, the competitive level at which you're currently playing, or access to social support. These factors will interact to determine how you individually react. To prepare yourself, consider these questions. What do you feel are the most likely mental and emotional challenges you might face in responding to an injury? What are some obstacles that are unique to you as a person or the situation in which you currently play that might impact how you handle an injury? Are there any strategies you can use to either amplify the good factors, being an optimistic person, or mitigate the bad factors, severity of an injury? Consider your answers from some of the earlier questions I asked you to think about. By thinking about these questions in advance, you're increasing your self-awareness about your own emotions and habits and identifying the aspects of your situation that could be within your control to assist you in recovering from injury. While creating a plan to deal with an injury can reduce the stress of the experience, even after you stabilize in responding to the injury, there might still be a long road ahead of you to get back to full strength. This period between the occurrence of the injury and returning to play makes up what sports medicine professionals call the rehabilitation and recovery stage. To help you get through this stage of the injury process, the following are some key areas that can be helpful to you. First, research shows that athletes are able to navigate the recovery process more effectively when they have a clear idea of what to expect. This can be particularly important when an injury requires a long rehabilitation period. When injured, we recommend asking the following questions to your doctor, your athletic trainer, or your physical therapist, any of the above who you're working with. What caused the injury to occur? What are typical challenges I can anticipate in my recovery? What is the anticipated timeline of my recovery? What are reasonable goals I can set, and how can I track my progress? Second, while being knowledgeable about the process is a great starting point, that last question, what are reasonable goals to set and how can I track my progress, is critical to maintaining your motivation during recovery. Why is maintaining your motivation so critical to successfully returning to the field? Researchers tell us that athletes with higher motivation during rehabilitation are more committed to adhering to their recovery process. These athletes understand how to listen to their body and set reasonable expectations, ensuring that they don't push themselves too hard too soon. Additionally, athletes with higher motivation will exhibit greater patience during the recovery period. To maintain your motivation, write out the goals you navigate with your doctor and track progress in a visible way. Get creative in how you do this, but make sure it's something that you can see consistently. Research within goal setting highlights how important it is to make goals and the progress you make on them highly visible. Additionally, create a check-in point where you can reevaluate your goals if you need to. Finally, it's critical to maintain a strong support network. Injury interrupts your typical social dynamics. Activity limitations and rehabilitation responsibilities might create a physical distance from your team and your usual social support system, which can also contribute to feeling uncertainty about your role and your place on the team. Becoming the injured one can lead to a change in the quantity and quality of social interactions. So we recommend being proactive in this space. Injured athletes often feel like they're out of sight, out of mind. So seek opportunities to stay involved in social functions, practices, and games. Check in regularly with your coach regarding your progress. This can help show your coach that you're invested in your recovery and help them continue to be invested in the process as well. Share your goals and talk about the plans for re-entering practice when you're ready. The final part of dealing with an injury is the part you might be most excited about, returning to the volleyball court. While this should be the most positive part of the injury process, in actuality, there are still several challenges that might accompany the return to play process that you should be aware of. First, while it is a major relief to be cleared for competition, a return to play often does not equal an immediate return to your previous performance levels. So it's natural to feel frustration with your performance due to the fact that you worked so hard and remained so dedicated to your recovery, but it still feels like there's a lot more work to be done. Two things can help you deal with this frustration. One, work with your coach to develop a training plan to get you back to playing condition. Similar to the work you did with your doctor during rehabilitation, create goals and checkpoints to track your progress. Second, put yourself in different shoes. If one of your teammates went through the same injury and recovery process that you did and was struggling to get back to their previous level of performance, what would you say to them? How would you try to support them as they handled that challenge? Oftentimes, we're much easier and more supportive for others or of others than we are of ourselves. So catching ourselves using unfair or unsupportive messaging or language to handle this challenge can help us to realize which messages are helpful and which ones we need to cut out. Instead, you should anticipate that some fear or anxiety related to re-injury may arise and make gradual efforts to accept and ultimately process those emotions. This can make those negative emotions feel smaller while framing them as something you can handle rather than avoid. One way to do this is focus on reinforcing your confidence on the court. Acknowledge the sustained efforts that you've made to successfully be cleared to return, and use small victories like completing your first full practice or successfully performing a serve after an arm injury to create some momentum and build confidence. Reminding yourself of your recent successes can help you mentally as well as physically by helping you trust your own movements and actions on the court again. Make it a daily practice to remind yourself of the reasons that you have to feel confident in your return. Finally, use the return to court to create optimism for the future by embracing a growth mindset and reminding yourself of your resilience. A growth mindset allows us to focus on the idea that we're always learning and improving, and that failure or adversity is part of the learning process. We just discussed that recovering from an injury is mentally, emotionally, and physically taxing. While getting injured is not an optimal part of your athletic goals and journey, it's not a fatal end or failure to it either. Framing it as a growth experience that allowed you to get stronger mentally allows you to feel ready and resilient in the face of a future injury or other challenges on the court. You should take pride in your ability to overcome the adversity the injury caused, to come back to the court stronger and more determined to succeed. By creating a pre-injury plan, setting clear goals with your care provider, and acknowledging the positive and negative emotions that can come with returning to the court, you can not only recover from your injury, but do so in a way that reinforces your mental, emotional, and physical resilience.